can you tell me a little bit about what a non-steroidal actually is?
Yeah, I guess I was thinking about this today at work. Where do I start? So when we're talking about non-steroidals, we're talking about drugs like Metacam. I'm sure Metacam is the market leader in the UK. That's the trade name. The generic name is Meloxicam. Your dogs may be receiving different brands of Meloxicam. So that's one example. We've got drugs like Rimadyl, Simaljex, Onsior. So I think off the top of my head, there are about 7 common non-steroidals that we use in dogs. And why do we use non-steroidals? I guess these, for me, are first-line drugs in treating arthritis. I think one thing to point out that's really important is what influences your vet's decision-making process. Okay, what I want is a drug that works, but secondly, I want a drug that's safe. So when I prescribe a drug and I say to you in my pain clinic, I say, well, this is the drug I want you to take. I want you to go home and give Buster this drug every day for however long. I want it to work, and I don't want your dog to have any side effects associated with that.
Yeah.
How do we know whether these drugs are safe and effective? They go through the licensing process. So all of those 7 non-steroidals are licensed for long-term use in dogs for treating conditions such as osteoarthritis. And actually the license of most of those is specifically for osteoarthritis as opposed to any other type of pain, chronic pain, because osteoarthritis is the biggest cause of chronic pain in dogs. That is why non-steroidals are our first line, because they're licensed, and we are required under what's called the cascade, according to the Veterinary Medicines Directorate, who regulate our prescribing. We are required to use licensed products as our first line products. So you might think, well, my dog's on this, my dog's on gabapentin, my dog's on all of these other drugs. You've heard Claire Rusbridge in the last week, you heard Gwen last night, talking about lots of other drugs. You think, well, why is my dog not on that? Why did my vet start with X drug to start with? It's because these are licensed drugs. And we know that they're safe and they're effective because they've gone through trials to tell us and give us that information. A lot of the other drugs that we could talk about, you've heard about, things like gabapentin, they're not licensed, and we don't have a huge amount of information. Although we use them a lot, we use them off license. So that's really the reason why we're going to use non-steroidals first. Yes. I think the other drug we're going to talk about tonight, galliprant, its generic name is grapiprant. That drug does also have a canine license as well for management of osteoarthritis. So really, these are our 2 first-line drugs as far as osteoarthritis goes.
Yeah, brilliant. So when I think that an easy way to start this would be to sort of talk about, because I know we talked about the licensing, but actually when we're talking about arthritis, they're the first line because of their anti-inflammatory effect. So maybe you could go into a little bit more detail for us.
Yeah, so when we have chronic pain, when we have pain full stop, whether it's acute pain, so pain caused by, let's say, a dog being hit by a car, or a dog undergoing surgery, or a dog with arthritis, the root cause of that pain is inflammation. And in arthritis, obviously, that's inflammation in the joint. If the dog's hit by a car and sustains a fracture, then it's pain associated with the tissue damage. So this is the big thing with inflammation is tissue damage. So I think everyone's fairly intelligent on here. I'm not going to go too sciencey. If you imagine a cell, all of our body's made up of totally different types of cells. If we're talking about the joints, we're talking about cartilage cells, bone cells, and synovial cells, which are the capsule of the joint. So we've got lots of cells. When we have damage to any cell, we get release